In the wake of U.S. strikes on Iran, the State Department has issued a worldwide alert to Americans around the world. It urges U.S. citizens to exercise caution with the potential for demonstrations against U.S. citizens and interests. It's also advising U.S. citizens in Qatar to shelter in place until further notice. The embassy there says that advisory is not due to any specific threats. Let's bring in CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd. Sam, thanks for your time today. What kind of precautions is the State Department talking about here?
Well, the State Department has begun actual evacuations of American citizens from Israel as the conflict with Iran has intensified. The State Department has also evacuated diplomats from certain embassies in the region. More broadly, because the threat environment is just so heightened, the State Department is really recommending that every American, whether they're visiting a different country or they're living in a different country, that they exercise increased caution. And what does that mean? That means individuals should pay close attention to their surroundings, and that if they see anything that may be indicative of concerning behavior, any signals that an individual may be radicalizing to violence, mobilizing to violence, that they should ask for help at the earliest possible stage because we're just in such a tense moment. And for Qatar, the embassy there did, as you mentioned, issue a separate security alert recommending that folks actually stay where they are, that they stay put, because there may be an even more heightened threat environment in that country.
So is there a concern that the U.S. strikes will just drive Iran's nuclear program into more secrecy and increase its chances of actually eventually developing nuclear weapons?
Well, the primary concern in this very moment is an actual physical or cyber attack from Iran. Iran could choose to retaliate for President Trump's strikes on its nuclear facilities by activating its operatives around the world. They're known as proxies. Iran funds them, they train them, they give them weapons. Those proxies have launched attacks really all around the globe in the past, including here in the homeland. So that's a really big concern. Iran also has pretty sophisticated cyber capabilities that it's used against U.S. critical infrastructure in the past. So that's an immediate concern. Over the longer term, certainly, security officials are worried that Iran could try to move its nuclear program underground. It certainly did lose a lot of capabilities in these strikes, in Israeli strikes. We're still waiting for the battlefield assessment on exactly how much they lost in terms of enriched uranium, in terms of knowledge with the assassination of nuclear scientists, and in terms of centrifuges, the machines that spin to make enriched uranium. But regardless, they could try to make their program even more secretive based upon the fact that these strikes occurred.
Sam, when President Trump announced U.S. strikes on Iran, he said now is the time for peace. But is there really any possibility that diplomacy is still an option here, especially in light of those strikes?
I think there is a chance. Having worked on the early days of the Iran nuclear deal under President Obama, Iran responds best, the Iranian regime responds best to maximum pressure. And President Trump has certainly put maximum pressure on Iran from a security perspective with these strikes. Israel has launched a sustained campaign over years and months to degrade Iran's military capabilities and its nuclear program. And Iran is still facing economic pressure due to sanctions. So this maximum pressure campaign has been underway for some time, and it could drive Iran to the negotiating table. I do think one of the key factors here, however, is that they may not trust the Trump administration based upon the fact that the Trump administration was engaging in diplomacy and then launched these strikes, and the fact that in his first term, President Trump actually withdrew the United States from the nuclear deal that Obama had signed.
Right. All some very important context there. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd, thank you for your insight today.